All right, here we go. I'm going to try this again. Welcome back to the podcast. Here we are. It's been a while since I've recorded one of these episodes, but we're here anyways. And today I'm going to be speaking about how I'm making 2025 the best year of my life. And we'll do a little bit of reflection on 2024 as well, because why not? So yeah, just starting off with the 2020, 2024 reflection. It was a pretty good year, I'll be honest. I think overall I could have done more because comparing that to the year before that, 2023, I don't think I had as many of like a radical life change, at least comparatively. I think I became smarter. I became like skills got better, whatever. But I don't really think it wasn't like a super radical life change. Not to the same degree that I had in 2023 because I think it's also a little bit biased just because in 2023 is whenever I really started up a little bit more like self-development stuff. I started reading more books. I started meditating more. I started watching more educational content. I started cutting down on my screen time. I did a lot of like the baseline stuff in 2023 that I think really improved the quality and texture of my mind and life. So it might be a little bit biased just because, once you get your screen time down to a certain degree, then it stops becoming as big of a problem in your life. And, I'm fortunate enough to have been able to remove that issue from my life. Like I deleted most of social media. I deleted all the stuff that was kind of like taking up brain space. Like I remember at points in late 2022 whenever I was on my phone for probably 8 hours a day. And so that transition into 2023, it probably seems like there's a lot of progress made, and you can only cut down your screen time so much once you get to a certain point. So it's like you can't go down another 6 hours if you're down to 2, you know? So yeah, that might be why that I don't think it wasn't as big, to be honest. But that's kind of the reflection, I suppose, is just it didn't seem as big. But I did learn a few things. I changed up a few things. I think the biggest thing about 2024 though is the biggest good thing about it is that I really aligned myself to a goal that I have, and that's getting to a certain time in the 800 meter, and then like kind of whittling down things that I want to do, that sort of thing. I think that especially in those last few months, it really helped. But we'll see how it goes this upcoming year. But here's how I'm making 2025 the best year of my life. How I'm going to attempt to really radically improve as much as I can over the next year, and I guess achieve my goals, that sort of thing, and just set myself up for a good adult life because I'm 17 now. I'll turn 18 this year. And the way I see it is whenever you turn 18, like everything before is kind of like the pregame or the preseason. I'm getting into like the game now. I'm getting into I'm getting out of the tutorial level, if that makes sense, because I'll be 18, be able to basically decide what I want to do, right? Like there's going to be most legal and most other restrictions kind of get lifted, and then you're playing on the same level as basically everyone else whenever you turn 18, except for like specific guidelines if you're in the US, like alcohol or whatever. But I don't plan on that, so it doesn't really matter for me. But anyways, how I'm making 2025 the best year of my life, besides turning 18 and escaping the school system. The first thing is building great habits. So the first thing that I want to kind of like yap out there to explain to my future self and to advice that I would give to my past self is that you are not going to achieve your goals unless you have the systems behind them. And I've experienced this personally, in the sense of like fitness, in that if you do not work out enough or you do not train hard enough for long enough, and you're not consistent, or you're eating the wrong foods, etc., you will not have the outcome that you desire, right? And so the outcomes that I desire over this year, excuse me, sorry about that. The outcomes that I desire for this year is to run a good, run a good 800 meter. It's to be a fit dude. Maybe not to get absolutely yoked. I don't think that's necessarily my goal. And I don't think that will be my goal throughout life. Like, yeah, I want to get like, decently muscled and stuff, but I actually would rather be a little bit, like smaller, but be able to run pretty fast, run like a marathon, ultra, that sort of thing, rather than be like ultra jacked. Like, yes, I want to be like lean and muscled, but I don't really care too much about being like absolutely huge. I'd rather, I think I enjoy more the like cardio and maybe even some sport, I might pick up some sort of like combat sport or something like that. But anyways, you fall to the level of your systems, is I think that's the quote. It's like you don't rise to the expectation, you fall to the level of your systems and your habits. And so I think by building great habits, I'm going to achieve just by default the things that I want to achieve, right? So like getting fit, getting to a certain level of followers, getting to a certain income, whatever. I think it all comes down to the habits that I do. So big things are going to be like reading, staying off, better technology usage. So like staying off my screens and whatnot. I've done a pretty good job of that, but for the past few days, I'm gonna be honest, I've been kind of slipping up on that, but I've been cracking down on it and I've been getting back into the groove of it. But like reading, making sure I don't get injured, like doing like weird rehab exercises, like and like stretching and whatnot, doing that sort of thing, so that I can stay fit, I can learn, so I can share more. Reading, meditation, being focused. I have a whole list written down here. Intermittent fasting, whatever it is. Like there's a couple of habits in here that I really want to stick to. But I think just building those and getting those in to where you do them every single day, even if it's to a small degree, I think it's so helpful just to be consistent with them. Because whenever you have that kind of like like whenever your habits are great, your baseline for life is just so much higher. Like the one of my mentors, like his baseline is getting a few hours of work done per day and then doing like 2 training sessions basically every single day, right? And that's his baseline, right? My baseline is not as high. My baseline is like doing some exercise or like walking around, like, and then eating well. I think that's probably the best habit that I have built up right now, is like my baseline is I don't cheat on my diet. That's about it, honestly. Like exercise is most of the part of the way there, and then as you can tell with like recording this stuff, it's not like the work aspect of like putting in work to create stuff isn't really like the baseline is not very high, which I need to fix. And that's one of the habits that I want to work on, is like just getting into a groove of working, even if it's not, a ton, just getting something done throughout the day, so my baseline is increased. But yeah, my advice to you would be to find which habits really increase your life quality or get you closer to your goals, and just focus on maximizing those as much as possible. Like, I only have a few things in my life right now that will get me closer to my goals. And I think instead of messing about trying to do everything else, maybe you can have a couple of other like side things that you want to do, like hunting. For me, I was really interested in it before, but right now it's not as big of an interest for me. I'll do a little bit of it just to like learn it and like practice shooting whenever, but it's hunting season basically over, so I don't really need to think about it. And so, like, the other few things that will get me closer to my goals is stuff like reading. It's gonna be stuff like meditation to focus in. It's gonna be stuff like obviously exercise, rehabbing my Achilles right now. My Achilles, like, it's weird because it's not necessarily hurt. I guess it is hurt, but it's feeling better. So I don't know. It's like a weird spot. But yeah, like preventing injury, exercising, sleeping, recording podcasts, recording a video, whatever, like, and creating those scripts slash outlines, etc. Like, those are the things that will really get me closer to my goals. And so I don't really need to do anything else. like that's all I need to do, dude. And so if you can find those like few habits that will really move the needle for you, whether that's, you decide like, oh, I'm actually really sleep deprived and I need to sleep more. Okay, just spend a week like focusing on building that habit, or spend like a month or whatever, just maximizing that thing. Because we actually have a lot of time in our day. Like, if you cut out all the other distractions, and this does kind of go into the building great habits thing. If you cut out all the other distractions, you actually have a lot more time in your day to maximize those other habits. Like, for me, it's weird because whenever I don't distract myself on the days that I don't distract myself, I actually find myself being really bored most of the time. And so I'm either sitting there thinking like, okay, what do I do now? Because like, it's so, for me, it's easy to be bored now, which I think is a good thing. And I try and find ways to kind of like mitigate that, but I think it's partially a good thing to be bored every once in a while, because I've cut out all the distractions. But I have more time now to, maximize the good habits, which is something that I'm trying to do more of in this year. But yeah, I think I covered that pretty well. I'm not sure. Another thing that I've written down there is try to make it impossible to skip the thing. So ironically, I kind of skipped it this morning, but the example I have written down is to do for me, it's an ice bath. So just outside, we have a water trough thing that I just jump in every morning. I think right now it's frozen over because it's so cold where I live right now. Like, if you can't tell, like, my body language, I'm cold, dude. I'm cold. But yeah, it's just out there. And even though I skipped it today, it's like basically every single day I'll just go out there and jump in. I probably won't be able to for the next few days because it'll be like like frozen all the way to the bottom. But for the past few days, I've just been like breaking open the, like inch or so of ice or whatever, and just hopping in. Even if it's for like 30 seconds, I just do it, even though, because it's just out there, right? And so I just try and make it basically impossible to not do, right? I think that's the best way of going about it, is not pushing yourself to where you have to do it, just making it impossible to not do it, right? To where it's like you wake up in a day and the friction to doing something is so low to where it's inevitable that you'll do it anyways. Because that's how the bad habits really form anyways, is because the friction to doing them is so low. Like, if you're if you struggle with eating junk food or whatever, but you have a ton of junk food in your cupboards, like, of course, you're probably going to eat more. Like, I get the whole willpower thing. Like, you can just go out and buy some. But imagine this. Imagine your entire house just has absolutely no junk food, no sugar, no nonsense in it, right? Your entire house doesn't have any of that stuff, right? And let's just say, like, right now, there's a bunch of snow, so it's going to be a bit more dangerous to drive. It's not like you kind of want to like stay in. You're not going to stay in and binge on junk food because you don't have it. So like the friction to getting junk food is so much higher. You get what I mean? So like friction and building habits is definitely an important aspect that you want to consider for good and bad habits. So like increase the friction for bad ones and decrease the friction for good ones. That's how I'm going to try and build these, like helpful habits. Is like I have books like this book, like Relentless, bro. Like the books are just like out, they're in like my sight, they're in within grasp. And I think that's how I'm going to be building great habits. Anyways, I've been yapping on about habits for a while, so let's move on. The next thing that I'm going to be doing to make 2025 the best year of my life is to avoid ruts. So if you don't know what a rut is, just to give you some context, a rut is basically whenever you kind of like fall into a rhythm of like bad habits again. Like you fall into like old habits that you kind of discarded before, and maybe you're really lazy one week, and you just like you get thrown off your groove basically, and then you're just kind of in this like it can be a week or a month or something that you're just in like blah. And so honestly, I'd say for the past like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I've been kind of in a rut, I'll be honest. It hasn't been like a crazy rut because my baseline for eating food has been pretty good, so I haven't been like binging on junk food or whatever, which is nice. But kind of this like rut in which I haven't been exercising to the degree that I want to. And I'll blame that partially on the injury that I've been nursing for like the past freaking 3 weeks. So, I'll partially blame that, but it's also on me. Like the onus is on me. Like I could have been doing other things, and like been not as stupid whenever it comes to rehabbing. Like I probably could have been done with this injury like this week or last week, if I just didn't re-aggravate and whatnot. But I don't know. It's an iffy thing. But anyways, I've been kind of in a rut recently. But the goal this year is to really minimize the amount of ruts or like backwards progress that I make towards my goals. Because even if you make no progress in one day, technically that's still a win. Because if you think about how awful the day could have gone, then you gotta think like, okay, as long as I didn't make negative progress, then that's a win. Even if the day was awful, right? You still did something beneficial. And I think that's what I've been doing now more of, is even though I haven't been getting like, more fit, I've still been getting enough to where like I haven't been losing fitness too much anyway. So it isn't like a huge negative now. And that's why I think I'm kind of getting out of this rut, is I've been doing things that have been, like maintaining my fitness, I guess, maintaining other things whilst I'm still recovering. But yeah, and like the overall reason why I think this avoiding ruts will make 2025 a great year is, like I said, less negative progress and less holes that I have to dig myself out of. So instead of like this dip up and down sort of thing, it's like up, kind of plateaus, up, plateaus, up, plateaus. But you're still up, in like, even if it's a linear progression, it's like up and not like down. There's no, like down negative spots. And that's really what I'm going to try and avoid this year. So some advice that I learned for avoiding ruts is to avoid coping. So coping is kind of like whenever you think that some bad habit is actually good. So for me, it's kind of what it's been recently has been, oh, like I don't need to, like I don't really want to do cardio. I need to rest anyways. Or I don't, or something, so says something stupid like, oh, but if I eat earlier, it'll make me recover faster or whatever. Even though in reality, it doesn't really matter too much. And I'd probably just feel better overall if I just stuck with the thing that I said I was going to do, which I'm trying to do more like intermittent fasting stuff. So like eat after noon basically. And I'd be eating breakfast thinking like, oh, but I'm going to have more protein synthesis so I'll heal faster or whatever. It's just cope, honestly. It isn't as big of a thing, but I think avoiding the copes of like, oh, but the junk food it'll be tasty or whatever. Like, oh, or I'll sleep in because I'll do this or whatever. Like, I guess those cheap shots or those shortcuts, I guess, that kind of screw you over, and before you know it, you're just like, you're in this like rut where you're not doing anything and you feel awful. You feel like kind of like fat almost because you're just being lazy. It's just avoiding coping in the first place and just doing the thing that you said you were going to do is a much better strategy. So you just don't fall into a rut to begin with. It's just kind of like seeing yourself slip up in those small things is going to help you a lot more. All right. I think I got that. I kind of said this before, but this year, the next thing that I want to do to make this the best year ever is to get as fit as possible. And so my goal this year is to get into the best shape of my life. I kind of said this a little bit earlier. Not ultra yoked, but decently muscled, lean, really good running ability. Those are the things that I really want to do. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think that it'd be a great increase to the quality of my life if I was as fit as possible. It's just like a good asset to have, being as fit as possible. Because like I'm young, I want to be lean and yoked and whatnot, and just kind of be in that like starting to basically get into like that peak shape of my life. Because I know I'm young, and at like 35 or whatever, it probably won't be as good of strength or good of I guess aerobic capacity as I will be at 25, but I wanted to be building that up at 18 so that by the time I get to 25, I'm a freaking monster. I'm just an absolute beast, And so barring some awful injury, my goals are this year to, one, get to the 800-meter state final. That'd be sick. If not, just like PR in the 800 as much as possible. Get to like sub 2 minute. That'd be sick. If I can do that, maybe break the school record, that would be a dream come true. And even though it's a little bit arbitrary, just because it's like, oh, it's a school record, like it doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things, I think it really just proved to me like, yes, I can stick to something for 6 months and actually go out and achieve it. So I think it would prove something to me, even though the goal itself is a little bit arbitrary. I think the accomplishment in of itself would be, it would give me evidence that I can do stuff, right? Even though it's fitness based. The second goal that I have, second and third goal, I guess. The first one is to run my first marathon. So, the heck? Oh, my bag is falling over. The farthest I've ran in a single time has been like maybe 7 miles. I actually haven't ran all that much at once. And that's one because I've only been running for so many years. I've also been freaking injured, dude. Like, it's weird. It's like, as I build up my ability to run, I just end up getting injured at some point, and it's really annoying. So I need to improve my durability, because I don't know what it is, man. It's just like at some point, whenever I'm upping my mileage, I just end up getting hurt. It's really annoying. But farthest I've ran ever has been, I think I've ran a 10K before. It hasn't been much past that though. So I want to run a marathon sometime this year. I don't know how long it'll take, because I'll already be in pretty good shape by the end of May. And I'm thinking I could probably just do like a month-long marathon prep, because I'll already have a lot of good conditioning. I'll just need to up my volume a decent amount just to get used to the amount of running. And then probably do one by the end of June or something like that. I think I could do something. I could run a marathon like that. And then another goal that I have is to run my first ultra. And so this one's a little bit iffy, because I don't know how long it really takes to prep for an ultra. I think by the time I've ran my first marathon, I think I'll be, pretty good condition. Again, it's just a matter of like upping my volume to get to the point to where I can actually handle that sort of task. And I think I'd be able to do it, like give me like 3 months or something, like prep. Like if we imagine this time, like, 'cause I still want to do it whenever it's like relatively warm outside. So, give me like 3 months and I do it in October or something like that, right? Because imagine marathon prep. I, prep throughout June, build up my mileage that way. And then I run my first marathon in like July. And then maybe I take a couple days off, but then I get right back at it, go throughout July, August, September, I'm all, prepping. And then in October, or like late October, I run my first ultra. I don't think that's unrealistic, to be honest. I don't think that's completely unrealistic. Maybe not. Maybe in November. If not, probably just do it in like early or mid 2026. Just get into like really good shape, and then just do something in the meantime. Maybe build up some muscle, that sort of thing, in late 2025. Bulk up a little bit, get huge. But yeah, I think I'll be able. I think I'm able to do it this year. We'll see. Maybe not 100-miler, maybe like a 50-miler. And then do my first 100-miler in 2026. We'll see. But those are kind of the fitness goals. Is just to start doing some like ultra long distance. What's ironic? What's crazy is like, I don't know if I'll get voted for this, but like, I was sent like yearbook superlatives, senior superlatives, because I'm a senior in high school, right? And it was funny because like I was scrolling through the list and just like voting for like random people, just kind of going through it like, oh, haha, this would be funny. And like I think the only one my name was listed for was most likely to do an extreme sport. And I guess I am the most likely to do an extreme sport because I'm planning on doing an ultra at some point in my life. So it's weird. I didn't think, because like I don't really talk to a ton of people in my school. I don't know. They must have like read my mind or something. I don't know. We'll see. I think I'll be able to do it though. I'd just be sick if I could run 100-miler, bro. I don't know. It just seems like a really good fitness challenge to run 100 miles straight. It's crazy. We'll see how it goes. I think I'll be able to do it. And the goal isn't to, like win, but the goal will be to just finish one, right? Just finish the marathon, just finish the 100-miler, not DNF. That's the goal. All right. Anyways, moving on. The final thing that I'm going to be doing to make 2025 the best year of my life is to use the law of attraction and autosuggestion. So, I didn't read the book The Secret, but I was told about it, and I've looked through a little bit, like a PDF online basically. But it kind of ties in with this law of autosuggestion that I learned from hold up. Gonna get my stack of books. This book, Think and Grow Rich. I think it's like it's basically like the first quarter of the book. It basically talks about this idea of building a burning desire and building this law of autosuggestion to your subconscious mind to achieve your goals in life. So what I do now, basically every night before I go to bed, and I probably should do it every single morning, but it's this desire statement. And the goal of that is just to build up in my mind this idea of I have this thing and I want this thing and I do these actions. Basically it's kind of like a identity sort of shifter, if that makes sense, to where you kind of brainwash yourself into thinking you have what you want. Like basically deluding yourself into thinking that you already have what you want. And by doing that, by putting in this idea of like autosuggestion, it kind of plants in your subconscious mind the actions like, okay, I need to do this thing then. If I am this person, then I should be doing these things, right? Or if I have this money, then in order to earn that money, I should be doing these things, etc., etc. It's a little bit wishy-washy, honestly, but I think whenever I really think about it and I kind of build up that internal desire, it makes the actions so much easier. Because whenever I think about, okay, I'm an athlete, I run every single day. Like I run, I work out with intensity, I eat the right foods, I do this thing. Like this is why I'm, like lean and athletic or whatever. Whenever I think in that sort of way, even though it's a little bit delusional, because I'm not like, the best athlete or whatever right now. Whenever I think in that sort of way of like, I'm an athlete, I do this thing, I do that thing, it makes doing those actions a lot easier to do. Because you just think about it like, okay, this is just what I do normally, right? It's kind of just like a habit. Like if you think about what a fat person does on a daily basis, like they think they're fat, they're like, oh yeah, I'm a fat person or whatever, I do these things, right? It like those habits come easily to them because they're a fat person and they believe that they're a fat person. So they just do the habits of a fat person. But if you can kind of delude yourself through this principle of autosuggestion and law of attraction, then even though you're not necessarily to that goal quite yet, those actions that will get you to that goal become a lot easier to do. I think that makes sense? I hope that makes sense. But that's what I've been trying to implement in my life recently, has been this idea of law of attraction, autosuggestion, where you think about kind of the ideal character that you want to become, the ideal person, and you just kind of delude yourself into thinking that you're already that person. And in doing that, the actions of that ideal character, that ideal self, come a lot easier, because then you think to yourself, okay, like you can think about this in like any situation, but I think the best way you can do it is maybe with diet or something like that. You think, okay, I have in front of me two choices: junk food or this like steak or whatever, like this like non-protein freaking garbage, right? Like a Pop-Tart or whatever, or the steak. Which am I going to eat? Okay, I'm an athlete. I need to eat well to recover and to strengthen my body. Like the choice becomes simple then. Like, okay, I'm just going to do the steak, right? Like if you don't have that identity in mind and you're just kind of like going off the whims of your brain, oh, tasty Pop-Tart, haha, and then you eat it and then you feel like sick afterwards. You get what I'm saying? I think you get what I'm saying. But it's just kind of like this identity shift of who you want to be and then just embodying that by almost deluding yourself to believe that you're that person. It's kind of weird, but I think it's been working for me recently. It's definitely, I think it's been working these past few days whenever I've been trying to implement a little bit more. So I'm not the best person to explain it. I think I will be eventually, but I'm not the best person to explain it right now. But I think it's something to look into. So whether that's you get this book, Think and Grow Rich, I really suggest it, or you get I think it's called The Secret. I don't know who it's by, but it basically talks about law of attraction. I think if you get that book or Think and Grow Rich, you can kind of understand it a little bit more. But yeah, that's how I'm making 2025 the best year of my life. It's kind of all over the place, but we're just getting back into recording these episodes. So hope to see you next week. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.